Been here since day one.
Welcome to the Mia Allman Show, right here on CRR, as we give you a little bit of everything. I'm your host, Master Coach Lady Mia, bringing you a powerful and in-depth conversations on health and wellness, self-discovery, culture, to embracing your best life. Let's journey together to find balance, empowerment, and inspiration in every step. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mia Allman Show, where we explore vital topics on mental health, self care, and healing. Today, we are addressing a sensitive but yet important issue: how trauma from breast cancer, domestic violence, or other adversities affects our sense of touch and intimacy. As a survivor myself, I know reclaiming that connection is the key part to healing. Joining us today is Dr. Susan Kay, an acclaimed author of Am I Normal If? She's also a sexologist, intimacy coach, and one of Glow's advisor. She's here to share her insights on how touch and intimacy plays a role in recovery and self-connection. Dr. K, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
The pleasure is mine, Mia. I'm very honored to be trusted by you with your listeners, and I look forward to our talk and time together in hopes that we will open some hearts and minds.
Yes, thank you. And of course, you are no stranger to Glow. So, Dr. K, let's dive right in. Can you share your insights on how trauma, whether it's from battling breast cancer or surviving domestic violence, can profoundly impact a person's relationship with a touch and intimacy?
Yes, we struggle as human beings being in these bodies. You know, life from the neck up, I call it, is very different and yet so connected to life from the neck down. And what's going on inside of our thought process and where we are with our relationship with what I call you with you, how does that translate inside of when there's a battle, as you mentioned it, a battle going on that's in our head primarily, and then it affects what's going on in our body secondarily. So it's looking at how the mind affects the body and then how the body affects the mind, and whether we want to share that body, which is in intimacy and touch. And let me just start this our talk off with, for people to have the thought that intimacy means into me see, like know me, know who I am. And if we're battling with something inside of ourselves, we're not really grounded in knowing who we are. So the into me see starts with you.
Wow, that's a good analogy, what you just pointed out. And, as you talk about the body and everything else, it leads me to, wonder, do many people often struggle with self-image and self-worth after experiencing such trauma? And how do these feelings affect their ability to connect intimately with others?
Right. It's the same question that we have for ourselves. Where am I with my you with you? Where's my strength inside of how I am in my language to myself, in my exercise to myself, like in all those things that we're told that uplift your spirit. And it works on a daily basis if it's just that you're having a bad day, or if you're having some deeper traumas occurring. It's your self-image and your self-worth that are at stake. And only you with you can pull it up out of the muck and the mud.
That is awesome. And in your experience, what are some of the misconceptions people may have about intimacy after experience trauma?
Well, that's a huge question, Mia, because it depends on the trauma, really. Is it mental, emotional, physical, or all three kind of weaving in and out of each other? Um, and what we work with trauma is starting very slowly to put hands on,
Mm-hmm.
to get you back in your body, get you back in good relationship with your body, because you might have some upsets and anger that you feel like your body has left you down, or that you're upset or angry at yourself because you should have done better. All that stuff that we do to ourselves inside of something that's happened to us that comes from the outside, um, known as trauma. How do we reclaim our connection to ourselves, and then reclaiming our connection to others?
Yeah. And I think especially, when you're dealing with domestic violence, because I knew a friend of mine that restarted to date someone, excuse me, my voice, and her significant other had to learn slowly, to touch because those are triggers. Every time it would touch her, she would twitch until
Uh,
eventually had to work at her pace and even ask permission, can I touch you here? Can I kiss you? To let her know that it's just a kiss, it's just a touch, nothing more, until she got comfortable, and until eventually those triggers from that domestic, um, problem, that happened, that she felt more comfortable in him touching her. And then you have the other flip side, like, me and a breast cancer survivor, that, when you lose your breast and stuff, you feel embarrassed as a woman, you feel less of a woman. So it's
mm,
now slowly allowing your spouse to kind of see you, from that perfect body you had to that unperfect body that's no longer there, to slowly him touching and say, it's okay, you're still beautiful, regardless of whether you have a breast or you don't have a breast. So, you're building that comfort zone, each time and building trust.
mm.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Trust is huge. And what I say to my clients, on every level or aspect of what they're walking with inside their neck up or neck down, is that communication is our largest sex organ.
Yes.
That if we can't talk about it, we can't connect with our body. So being able to feel safe and being able to communicate what you're feeling, and allow your partner to communicate what they're feeling. What I tell clients to do is set a 3-minute timer, and one person speaks, and then when the timer goes off, the other person for 3 minutes gives back what they heard them say.
Hmm.
Not 3 minutes to jump in and say what you want. We're sitting there chomping at the bit because whatever your partner is saying, you're coming up with, but, or what if, and so each person doesn't really get heard.
Hmm.
So it's a timer is one of the most loving things we can do for ourselves and each other. Setting a timer, allowing that person to speak, and then give back what you heard so that you have it right as the listener, and the person who is sharing has been heard.
Awesome. And I want to go back to exploring the power of touch, whether it's self-touch, massage, or the touch from your partner. How does that play a role in the healing process, especially for those that we just talked about who has faced trauma?
Yeah, touch is our most developed sense organ when we're born, right? You can't see so good, you can't hear so good. We can only smell mother's milk. And so the piece of what touch brings is that's how we read our world as as babies. Like, are we being held or not? It's become well known that incubator babies need touch, and there's a grandparents program in many hospitals that make sure babies get held. Like if the mom is incapacitated or there's a problem with mom, that the baby gets held. So right from the beginning, our touch needs are on board. And what happens as we age out? Can't hear so good, can't see so good, can't smell so good, but the touch hungers never change. And so in the face of trauma, it's even more important that people know that they are worthy. When you touch someone, you're touching into not just the physical, but the mental, emotional, and dare I say, the spiritual part of them.
And this next question, kind of falls in line, as we talked about earlier, shared, especially, with survivors, slowly reintroducing, touch into their lives, especially, when there's a fear or discomfort. Um, what are some of the things that they could do to remove that fear and slowly appreciate, again, the touch, the intimacy?
So you're talking specifically about survivors?
Whether it's somebody that's, domestic violence or experienced some type of trauma, that again, when touching, that's a trigger,
Yeah.
for those that not sure, especially the spouse or the significant others, like how do I want to be intimate with her, but every time I get close to her, she starts to twitch or, because she's still,
Right.
dealing with that trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. So to say start slowly, everyone would know that. There's in my book, Am I Normal If, there are the exercises that came out of Masters and Johnson. That's who my early teachers and professors were back in the 1980s. Is those folks who created what's called sensate focus, and it's a lesson about how we not only reach out and touch someone else, but how do we feel inside of that touch? Are we engaging? Are we really connected? Or, as happens a lot with couples, is there's using touch to get somewhere else, like especially into sexuality. What I have come to learn in my practice, and witnessing folks that, and I will touch the hand of my clients. I know therapists aren't supposed to touch their clients, but I have a special licensing that I made up that I give myself that okay, is that even to take someone's hand, I can take a client's hand, a potential client or a client who's sitting in front of me for the first time, and just with complete attention and intention, touch their hands and fingers, and one hand at a time, not the whole body. You just break it down to where all that juicy sensation and touch that sinks in to the receiver, that I have had grown men in business suits look up at me with tears in their eyes. Because the honesty of, I want to connect with you, I am here for you, is very vital.
Oh. Now, one of the things that, I speak a lot about is self-care, and you as, in the field as well. We know self-care is so important. Um, How does that process relate to, their self-care routine, and how would you recommend those, you know, as they're, transitioning to their healing journey um, to implement self-care?
Yeah, well, self-care starts in the neck up. We have to get ourselves in that place inside of our self-talk. Like, how are we talking to ourselves?
Mhm.
Are we speaking in a way that is supporting, reclaiming, again, intimacy, which is into me see? Am I available for myself to be intimate with myself and then to share that with others? And again, in my book, I have all of the steps for the sensate focus. And there are other books out there written about sensate focus. And how do I not only allow myself to be touched, but I am actually able to let myself go into the response of what physical touch can bring us, because allowing physical touch in a healthy way then allows mental touch, like to touch in with each other mentally,
Mhm.
emotionally, and in a way that not just uh, talking like around an issue, but really talking and sharing from within inside what the other person is feeling on both sides, the giver and the receiver. Again, communication is our best combination of sex and intimacy and your relationship with you and your relationship with others.
Yeah, that's definitely communication is so important. Um, and these days, some couples they don't even know how to talk to each other. And if you don't talk, you don't know what he or she likes or what they don't like, and so that you can meet, at a center point and get things moving, and stuff.
Yeah. And it is like
Mhm.
each person thinks, should I make the move or should I make the move?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Or the
both
misconception
do.
that, hey, oh, she doesn't want to do it, what's wrong with her? And, if they would just open up and say, you know what, I don't feel well, I don't, experience what she's going through.
Mm,
That way he can have that compassion and understand, okay, it's not me, let me help her. Let me deal with what she's going through,
right.
you know?
And it could be just a cuddle,
Yeah.
and a cuddle with clothes on or clothes off if the promise and the boundaries have been set. And I say, even set a timer. Let's cuddle for 3 minutes. And then maybe that works, and you move up 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it's really an honest cuddle. No hands start roving or no kissing on the neck. It's an opportunity to really sink in with your own body, number one, and then how you share a body that you're really connected to, mentally, emotionally, physically, sharing that with another instead of being in your head going, can I touch her now? What won't happen if I touch her now? And she's going, is he really going to do this and honor it, or is he going to touch me any? You see where it's being stuck and stopped in your
Hmm.
head. So we have to let go and sink in so that bodies can say, whoa, this really feels nice just doing this.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, I want to, before we go, I want to talk about your book. Am I normal if? When you first introduced that with, Cooge, the late Cooge, and,
Oh, yeah.
and I reflect back to when I was diagnosed with, cancer and things that I was going through the mental challenges. And it's that thought in your head that we sometimes we ask ourselves, Am I normal? You know, do I still fit in? And especially if you're going through trauma, you know, and you're going through all these emotion and stuff, and it's like you don't feel normal anymore, you know, or you've
Right.
been diagnosed with the illness. It's like I'm no longer normal, you know, because I have all these other issues. So that perfection is like going out the window. So, what inspired you to write that book and name it that? And also, um, do you address a lot of those concerns in that book for readers?
Absolutely. And thank you for noticing and bringing to these other listening ears what this word normal means to us in so many ways. Like we do it on a big societal level. Well, your group isn't normal because you only eat food with plastic forks. I mean, I don't know. You know, what is that thing that we put this label on people? Well, you're not normal because your ways or your uh, needs, wants, and desires are different than mine. And, you know, we go to war over things like this, like what's not normal or who gets to say what's normal. And it really, really dawned on me because in my practice, I would hear people so often saying, I don't feel normal because I can't do this or I can't do that. I'm like, well, what if it's normal for you? And so that's what we have to stand in that question. What is normal for me? And how do I share this with a partner? And I really learned it again in the Masters and Johnson's work of helping people to say, okay, I've lost sensation in my left arm, but my right arm still can hold and experience and be transformed into feeling good about myself if you'll just have touch my other arm. So it's such an individual opportunity to know thyself and then to give permission to others to share themselves in a way that works for both. Both have to agree, but not in a way that's condescending if it's not in a certain, quote, normal way.
Hmm, okay. Thank you so much. And again, I look forward to reading the book. I know you had sent out thing there and you've talked about it. And I think it's a great book for someone to read, no matter what you're going through, you know, and I always talk about self-discovery, that we gotta take time out to learning about who we are. You know, you discover so many things about ourselves. So, Dr. K, you know, we're winding down to the end. Is there any final words you'd like to share and where some of our listeners, they can contact you?
Yes, thank you. And what you said is, you know, where are the information and more language that we're speaking? And so you can find me on my site, drsusankay.com, and that's DRSUSANKAYE. At at gmail.com is my email, but it's also the same as just .com is my website, and there's a link there to the book. And we're also under the name of Integrative Mind Body Therapies, IMBT, international.com. And there you'll find all of our practitioners who do various kinds of touch therapy, various kinds of talk therapy, and how you can get in touch with folks or even pop me a note. I have an address there on the site where you can pop me a note, and I do a 15-minute consult for no charge. and we look at what would be the best first and next step for you.
Awesome. Dr. K, thank you so much for sharing your insights today, along with your wisdom on healing power of touch and intimacy. As you know, it was truly invaluable for myself and for our listeners. As someone who has faced the challenges of breast cancer and domestic violence, I understand how difficult it can be to reclaim a sense of self and connection. But healing is possible, folks. For those listening who may be struggling, remember that hope is within the reach. Start with small steps, nurture yourself, seek support, and don't be afraid to explore what brings you comfort. Today is a guide to help you on this journey to reconnection. Thank you to our listeners for being with us today. Thank you. As you know, we raise awareness each other and build a community of healing. Until next time, your journey to healing starts with love, and that begins with you. It's your girl, Master Coach Lady Mia, signing off. Join us again for another Mia Allman Show next Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where real stories inspire real change.
Hey, this is your girl Sophie G, your real sister from the Sophie G Show, and I am giving a shout out to KUO Magazine. They're dedicated to promoting a greater level of wellness in all of us. Yes, they bring out that glow. Caribbean Under One magazine features different cultures and personalities of both men and women from within our own communities, sharing biographies and their personal stories and challenges, even their secrets as to how they overcame the toughest obstacles they faced, with the hope of inspiring others. Caribbean Under One magazine gives back, and they acknowledge by honoring the ribbon of Survivors 365 by bringing awareness to those who have overcome and struggled with chronic illnesses and conditions. They inspire. KUO encourages and reminds us all of the true importance of having that glow in all our lives, a greater level of wellness. This is your girl Sophie G, your real sister, who promises to always keep it real. For me not lie, I'm not try. And I say, get your subscription today. Just log on, tell your friends, tell your family to join in and become a member, to subscribe to kuomagazine.com today.
Are you ready to transform your life to discover your inner brilliance? Well, tune in to the Mia Allman Show, hosted by yours truly, Master Coach Lady Mia, as we dive into empowering conversations on mental health, self-care, nutrition, culture, and the power of sisterhood. Whether you're seeking inspiration to start your wellness journey or tips to build stronger, loving relationships, well, you know I got you covered. Join us for insightful interviews, expert advice, and real stories of resilience and growth. It's more than just a show. It's your space for healing, learning, and self-discovery. So, catch me on the Mia Allman Show, where every conversation inspires real stories and real change. Listen live online at crrfm.com every Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe on my YouTube channel at Glow 365 TV shows, because your best self starts here as we give you a little bit